Hi, guys. Welcome back. It's a Friday Night Lights edition of Sports with Mono and Mono. And of course, I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, my trusty co host and producer. Eli, how was your week?
It was a busy week, and we have great weather tonight and decent weather heading into the weekend. It's like Florida weather. You have a thunderstorm possible nowadays.
Yeah,
it's a little weird, but uh, it's great weather here, and we have a great week ahead of sports and a great weekend ahead too, especially
yeah,
in soccer and tennis, the two main
we
sports of the
do.
weekend.
We do. So, we're kind of at the halfway point for summer and halfway point. So, we got a lot of stuff to talk about while the All Star break comes up. We'll kind of recap the first half of the season. But we always, as you know, Eli, and our audience knows, we start with the Mono-Logue, which is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And I've been thinking about this because I'm going to tie two sports together, and it's tennis and golf. And then we'll start with tennis because we have very similar circumstances surrounding both of them, right? Tiger Woods was the undisputed king of the golf course for 20 years. And, you had opportunities like um, with guys like Spieth and Thomas and John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. Who was going to step up and challenge that guy? And that guy was Scotty Scheffler. So now he's the guy who's at the top of the mountain. And, who's going to be the one on the PGA Tour to challenge him so he doesn't become like Tiger Woods, the sole base of golf? And, that question remains. And very similar on the tennis, right? We know we have Wimbledon and we had just great semifinal matchups. The matches weren't as great, but we have right now, you look and who's still standing? Djokovic out of Federer and Nadal. And I've talked about that a little bit. So I look at who are the guys that could possibly step up and be that guy. And right now, Carlos Alcaraz has proven he's the one ready to step up. He's 22 years old and he's going for his third straight Wimbledon title. So, who are the other guys? And you have Sinner, you have Medvedev, um, you have Taylor Fritz, maybe, possibly Ben Shelton, right? So these are the
Right.
guys that have the opportunity to make their name. But keep in mind, Carlo Alcaraz has four Grand Slams if he wins Wimbledon, and he's 22 years old. So I mean, he's the guy at the mountaintop who needs to get knocked off. So
100%.
if I miss somebody and you guys send us a comment, send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono.com, at gmail.com, and let us know. Did I miss somebody who's going to be the next guy up in tennis? Or is it already decided with Alcaraz? Who's going to be the guy to step up in golf? Or is it going to be Scotty Scheffler, the Tiger Woods of the next 10 years? Remains to be
Absolutely.
seen. Would love your thoughts.
Frankie joins in. He comments. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Love the Friday night show.
Yeah.
Alcaraz and Sinner is going to be a great rivalry for years to come. And Shelton and Fritz, tennis is in good hands.
Yes, sir, Frankie. You're
100%.
absolutely right. And Frankie and I have talked about it. And Frankie wasn't a big tennis guy. And I keep telling him you're missing out. These are great, well conditioned athletes, and the Grand Slams are absolutely great to watch. And I'm glad Frankie's now on board, and gets it and follows it very closely. Golf, same kind of thing. It is. People say, "Hey, that's not a sport." It's a sport, and it
100%.
takes a lot to get to the mountaintop, and that's where Scheffler is right now. So, thanks for the comment, Frankie. I appreciate it, and thanks for joining the Friday Night Lights edition of
Of
Sports with
sports with
Mono and
Mono and
Mono.
Mono. Yeah, it really is great, and what a matchup that is for Wimbledon. It is a rematch of the French Open. The question is, does Sinner get into this pot of gold? Does he win this title, or does Alcaraz continue to dominate? And he was a French Open winner. Will he dominate again? That is the big question. And
Yeah,
what a storyline it is going to be for whoever wins this Wimbledon championship for the men's, because Sinner would be a big win. And
yeah,
now win, even though he's the number one seed in this tournament, you could say it's an upset because Alcaraz just won the French Open, and he's definitely the best favorite right now to win the fourth straight Wimbledon. So yes, this would be a big upset.
Yeah,
And I would point into the women's league real quick. We have an American competing in the finals. Anisimova is for the American in 13th seed. She's competing in the final versus Swiatek, the 8th seed. So
yeah,
really have a great both the men's and the women's great sets, great games, great matches.
yeah.
The men's really the prime right now. But by the way, we have an American competing in the women's side for a title here.
Right.
Wouldn't that be something?
And Anisimova is the youngest to make the finals since Serena Williams.
Yeah,
And so, this is a great, great storyline. And yeah, she's going against one of the top two players in tennis, Iga
right.
Swiatek and um, oh, Sabalenka. But I got to tell you, Sabalenka hasn't been handling herself with class. She better turn it around, or she's going to be the evil empire on the tennis tour. So
She'll
she's
be joining the
clearly
dark
up there in
side.
the top two or three. But this would be a great storyline if Anisimova can pull this one
100%.
off. Great, must see
Absolutely.
TV. Yep,
Absolutely. And this is great TV. Both games are on ESPN at 11 o'clock. Saturday is the women's. Sunday will be the men's. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some tennis.
you bet it. You bet. All right, Eli. Let's move on and talk a little bit Major League Baseball right now
Yes.
because we come to the halfway point of the season, or quote unquote close to it.
Halfway point. Yep.
But the All-Star game is coming up, and let's take kind of a recap of where we are. And we look at the division leaders, right? The Dodgers. That's kind of still a
It's
couple
expected,
horses
right?
in that race, right? That's not a done deal. The Cubs and the Brewers, they'll fight it out to the end in the Central Division.
Right.
And then in the East, it really is only a two-horse race. It's the Mets and the Phillies. So I
Correct.
don't know what happened. My early season prediction was the Atlanta Braves, but maybe they turn it around. But right now, it's
And
not looking
it's not
great.
looking like that.
Right. So you got Acuna Jr. back, and they're still 8-9 games under 500.
I mean, but there's still plenty of time. I mean, they're only 16 games out of first place.
Absolutely.
Anything's possible. And keep in mind, too,
Yeah.
another big move in the Major League Baseball world. The Nationals, they fired general manager Mike Rizzo and manager Dave Martinez. Maybe
Yeah.
this is going to be that wake-up call for the Nationals. Maybe they're going to still get back into this race, possibly after the halfway point. I don't know if it's possible,
Yeah.
but still a big move there.
Yeah. So let's talk about the American League. And in the East, right? We're talking about Toronto, who's overtaken the Yankees, who've been sitting in first place all year. I know Frankie's listening, and he just all he wants for
Yeah.
Christmas is Aaron Boone to get fired. So I hope Santa Claus hears your wishes because
Well,
right now,
my wish out if you know, but it's Aaron Judge performing well in the postseason.
thank
That's
you
my
very
wish.
much for that little dig. I appreciate that. So that's a horse race in the East. The only division that looks like it's a runaway is Detroit, right? Nobody's even
Right.
close. Closest team behind them is 11 and a half games.
Well, the Houston, 55 wins to 59 wins.
Yeah, but Houston's in the Western Division, I think, right? But
Yes. But if
they
you
got
look
a
at the
lead.
league standings overall, though,
Yeah,
right now it's Detroit taking the crown.
yeah. Well, we know it's a long season. Now, let's get into some individual things that are going on, right? Let's talk about who was the MVP in the first half. And in the American League, it's Aaron Judge. Yeah, right? You can't
Yeah,
even deny
I
that.
can't argue that, and it's 100% the
Okay.
truth because he's been playing very well. The
And
question is, what happens in the second half? That's a big question.
so the National League, I don't know how you can't say Otani and be done
Otani,
with it.
because
I
it's
mean,
Otani. I mean, really.
right. So
And those two really are the faces of baseball right now. It is Judge and Otani. These two are the stars at it. And this is the question. Do they continue to perform well in the second half of the season? Do they execute what it takes and has what it takes in the postseason run? I think Otani definitely steps up to the plate and does and performs well, more better. Judge, it's really, a gamble at this point. Usually there's this point where he stops playing because of an injury. We hope no injury happens, but
I know.
there's this time. Usually it's this point. I mean, it's sad
So,
that we don't hope that this happens, but we
yeah.
just hope that he continues to perform well, doesn't get into an injury.
I think the MVP is already, if things continue the way they are, I think those are the two. And then you talk about Cy Young, right? You have this young pitcher, Jason Mizorowski in Milwaukee. He's kind of the
Yeah.
Paul Skeens from last year, but Skeens is, he's he's a great pitcher. If you look at his starts, he's got great numbers, but he plays for the Pirates, and the Pirates don't win when he pitches. So he's had like no decisions and more losses, but that's not reflective of how dominant a pitcher he is. And in the American League, certain guys like, hey, you got to throw Max Fried in there. He's stepped up and
Absolutely.
earning his money for sure. So these are just the individual accolades, and like you said, Eli, Nationals, they haven't even made the playoffs since they won the World Series. So, it was time for Martinez and Rizzo to go. But
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a good time, and it's the halfway point. And of course, what do we have? The home run derby, right? So
It's excellent.
let's talk about who's in it, because it seems to me,
It's
and maybe
shock
it's just me, like there's no Alonso, there's no, none of these guys like
that we
Judge,
know, right?
right? These are, I don't want to say no names, but some of them
Not
don't
big
have
names.
more than,
That's
yeah,
what put it. Not big names as we
right.
expect.
O'Neill Cruz, Jazz Chisholm. I mean, you don't consider him a home run hitter, but
No, but yet he's in the Derby.
right. And Byron Buxton and James Wood from the Nationals, who's a bright star coming up. They could keep a notice on him. Junior Caminero, a guy on the Oakland A's, Brent Rooker. So these aren't household names. So it
Right.
doesn't seem to be that intrigue that has been in the years past when guys like Alonso were in there. And I think, you know, you do have Ronald Acuna Jr. is coming back from an ACL or whatever it was, and he's in it because it's being played in Atlanta. So,
Right.
what are your thoughts on the home run derby? Who's the clear cut winner here?
There
Anybody?
is, I don't know if there is. I mean, because these are brand new names that we are not familiar with seeing. As you mentioned, these are not the big name stars. So it could
Yep.
really be anybody's game. And as we know, there's always that one or two surprises that we see here. Maybe it's Chisholm from the Yankees. Maybe it's this. Hello. Well, maybe, he could be the winner. It's really an up in the air decision.
Yep.
I really don't know on the top of my head who will be the winner. I think it's going to come down to who really performs the best, and that's how it always is. But there's
Yeah.
no clear cut winner as it was in the past. This is brand new
You're
names
right.
that we haven't heard of before,
You're
as you
right.
mentioned.
And when we look at it, the halfway point, I mean, it's Cal Raleigh who's got the most home runs in Major League Baseball, and he's
Yeah,
not in it, right? I
that's
don't
the
think
thing.
he's in it.
Yeah,
Is he in it or not in it?
I don't think he's in it. No,
I don't think so
no,
either. I don't think so either.
no.
Um,
But let us know
you
in the
know,
comments your thoughts about this and the home run derby, the All Star break.
yeah,
But yeah,
like I said, the All Star game for the Major League Baseball is still interesting to me. I don't remember, and I was talking with Frankie this morning about this, is whether I remember the rule used to be that whoever won the All Star game, American or National League, had the home field advantage in the World Series. I don't know if that's still the case or not. If you
I don't
know,
think so.
send us a comment. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know.
Yeah, but
But
I don't know. So now, what are your thoughts about the whole this whole All Star Weekend thing? Do you think it should just be the one event of the home run derby, or just the game itself, or do you like that there's a double thing, like almost like a skills competition, which is the derby and then the game? What are your thoughts on this?
I do like it, and I like, and the reason I like it is because the All Star game, um, it gives us an opportunity to see people that we haven't seen on a regular basis,
That's
and
true, and
and
as we
it,
see in
it
the home run
opens
derby,
the door for guys to get known on a national stage. But of course, they have to back it up, right? Who's a perfect example of that, right? J Rod for Seattle. He was going to be the next, superstar, right? And he's fallen back into mediocrity and
right?
so forth. So, I think the best player, like I said, MVP, if it wasn't Otani, I think it could be Acuna Jr.
One hundred
He's
percent.
one of the up and coming
And
players.
he's
So,
in the derby, by the way, too, participating.
yes, he is.
I
Yes, he
think he
is.
he definitely has a good shot at it too.
I think the favorite, if you will, and you know what I feel about sports gambling, but
Yeah, well, that's the prime. But I don't know.
yeah,
I kind of like the derby. I think
O'Neill
that is really
O'Neill
good.
Cruz is the favorite. Eli. Well,
Yeah. But I think maybe, it'd be really cool if we didn't do this American versus national type deal and maybe have like representing of the countries like we do in the NHL. I mean, this is now the new face of the All-Star, what the NHL has done, and I've been saying it all along. And I would
Yeah,
like to see that maybe in the MLB incorporate some type of thing. And we see this happen before. We had the countries play each other, like
I
U.S.,
know.
China.
Yeah.
I really like to see that possibly take place in effect for the All-Star game. A
Hmm.
little bit more longer of a break, more excitement, possibly. Love to see that possibly get into
Yeah.
works and play, but we'll see what happens.
And God, I do love. I've been watching the All Star game for 100
But the
years.
Derby, though, is the best part.
Yeah, yeah,
It truly is. That you can't replace.
yeah. All right. So, like I said, you got comments about the baseball season. You want Aaron Boone fired, and will Aaron Judge perform in the playoffs? These are questions still to be decided.
These are big questions to be answered. But you also have the MLB draft this Sunday
Yep.
on ESPN at 6 o'clock, and you have the game on Tuesday, the All-Star game at 8 o'clock on Fox, and Monday is going to be your Derby, 8 o'clock on ESPN. So
Yep.
you have a great weekend ahead in MLB baseball.
You got it. You got it. All right, Eli. So let's talk about soccer. So I think I actually learned a little bit more. This should be make Diego Cruz happy.
Yes, and I have
That,
a ton of notes actually.
yeah,
I got a page, so
right. So take us through the soccer, and I think I could stay with you here. So,
Okay, well, let's start off within the CONCACAF. In the CONCACAF, Mexico defeats the United States 2-1. That gives Mexico its 10th title, and they now become back-to-back champions in the CONCACAF. They won the 2023 Gold Cup. The United
right.
States, although they lost, their last Gold Cup championship win was back in 2021. So this was some
Okay.
pretty good game. It really had the United States up in the running first. They had the 1-0 lead. Mexico ties it up, and then Mexico gives the go-ahead goal to end it all right there. And
Yep.
Mexico is your Gold
Okay.
Cup champions. Over to the Club World Cup, where the final is now officially set. Chelsea set to take on Paris Saint-Germain in the final. The game will be live at 3 o'clock on TBS or MetLife Stadium. And as
Yep.
we all know, they are the home MetLife Stadium to the final of the FIFA World Cup next year. So
Yep.
this is a big test this weekend on factoring transportation, security, lines on the stadium grounds and inside, and also, most importantly, traffic to the city and around Jersey. So this is a big test coming up this weekend. And there's
Well,
already
I'm
been
gonna I'm
traffic.
gonna
I was driving in the
yeah.
area,
I'm gonna
and there's
say I know
traffic.
you're closer to that area I think than I am, but I
Yeah,
think so far, right? There haven't been any incidents. It seems like it's gone
knock
okay.
on wood.
Yeah,
Knock on wood.
right. But now we have, and that was, when they
The
had.
only thing that was struggling is the traffic. That was the only major thing. Which,
Now we know.
as we
Now
know,
we know
Jersey
what.
traffic is bad.
Right,
Add this to the mix.
yeah. Now we know what LA has to deal with, right? Kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, because if you were on Route 3 the other day or just driving by, it took a little bit. It was bumper to bumper.
Right.
So
So I
that's something
know.
to factor in.
Yeah. Let's talk. I think I got it now. The Concacaf, right?
Yeah.
That's a country. Those are
Yes.
countrymen from the same team. The
Northern and
Club
South
World
America.
Cup, these are players that we see,
On all
play
different
for their
national teams playing for a football club.
right. So that's the fundamental difference. And then of course, next year is
The,
the crown jewel,
the
the World
major
Cup.
World Cup, which involves
Right.
all the countries.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I
Right.
think I did my
And also in the women's Euro tour, you did your research.
yeah,
I appreciate
I
that.
did.
That's good. In the women's Euro tournament, today Spain defeated Italy 3-1, and Belgium defeated Portugal 2-1. Spain now has 9 points, 3 wins, so they are now guaranteed a spot in the next round. Italy has 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. They stand at 3 points in Group B. Belgium has 1 win and 2 losses at 3 points. Portugal 0 wins, 1 loss, 1 win draw, and 2 losses there. They have 1 point. They're likely going to be eliminated there. One team that was already in for the women's into the next round, no matter what, was Norway. They were the first team to reach 3 perfect wins, 9 points, and they secured their spot in the next round. Just to keep that in mind, the quarterfinals begin July 16th, so that is this week. The group stages end this Sunday. So we will have Group C take on games tomorrow. Sweden, Germany, Poland, Denmark, they're playing tomorrow. And Sunday will be Group D. You'll have France, England, Netherlands, Wales. They'll battle it out on Sunday. And then we'll be in the quarterfinals as we near the end and closer to the finale of the
Mhm.
Women's Euro tournament.
Okay, so there's no women's World Cup this year, but next year there's a men's. When is the women's? I don't know.
Women should be the year after.
Okay, All right.
Yes.
So
So this is similar to the CONCACAF. These are national teams, but European national teams.
yes.
None focus on the U.S., the Northern America, South America. This is just Europe, and these are some fantastic games. I believe I was watching like the Group A matches on Wednesday, and they were really good matches.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. These are great matches ahead, great games, and check them out. And tomorrow you have games on FS1 and Fox. So tune in for the Women's Euro. But the main event will be this Sunday for the men's and the
Yep.
Club World Cup, 3 o'clock on TBS, or you can go to the game at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah. Listen, you got to give the soccer world credit. People are interested in this, and
It is
people are
packed
watching it.
stadiums.
Yeah.
Packed stadiums. If you look at the TV, the stands, every single seat is filled. They're either sitting or standing and watching and celebrating and representing these players. And you
Yep.
could just see the joy. Absolutely.
Yes. Become very popular right now in soccer. They should capitalize on it. So good for them.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eli. Let's kind of change tunes for a minute and talk about the NBA because a lot of stuff has happened during the
Yes.
NBA. All right, so we
Some big
have
signings.
right big signings. I mean, money is just flying out the door. They're
Where do they get
printing.
this money from? That's what I want to know. If
That's
I
what I
can't get
want to
paid,
know.
where are they getting these monies from?
Right. So look, just take a. Here's a perfect example. And yes, they are now the world champion, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But now they're paying, and we talked about this, the $70 million contract that SGA got. And how long did that last? Devin Booker just got a 2-year deal for more money than that, average per year. And
It's crazy.
also, so the Oklahoma Cities now are paying almost $850 for 3 players.
Eight
Holmgren.
hundred fifty million, not dollars.
I mean, millions, yeah.
Million. If you say dollars, I was like, gee, I'm gonna sign on now. Like
Right.
it's a
They
great
just
deal.
signed They just signed Holmgren and Jared Williams to max contracts. So you asked the perfect question.
Nearly
Where is
300.
all of this money coming from? Great,
Where?
great question. I don't know.
Where? You're paying Jalen Williams 287 million for 5 years. 5 years. And 250 million for Holmgren. Where are you getting this money from? And is this a guarantee that this Oklahoma City Thunder team is going to be the top of the world back again at the king of the world and the championship crown? That is the big question. And we see this all the time, and especially in football. When you're the highest paid, you don't perform well, there's always a curse to it, whether
Sure.
that's an injury or performing very bad in your sport. Really?
Okay.
287 million?
You're right. And so
What are we doing here?
I think it's great that the team is saying, and this is just unfortunately how it is. They're paying
Right.
these guys 70. The $80 million guy is coming around the corner, but they're saying we think these 3 guys and then the other additions, year after year, um, could turn them into a dynasty. So I love the commitment there. I definitely love that they're all in, not just resting, saying, "Hey, we won our title. We'll blow this ship up," like we've seen in many sports before, right?
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. But the money, you're absolutely right. But also, so let's talk about this. I'm going to say it's kind of a phenomenon that people are actually watching the NBA Summer League. Um, Believe it or not, they're watching it.
I
I
know
mean,
they are because it's just the newest stars, I guess you could say. But
so it's
honestly, I rather watch the Savannah Bananas, and they were on ESPN last week. I just want to point that out.
yeah,
Just
I know they were at Fenway Park. I saw it. Yeah.
I was watching the game, man, but just still, I just
Yeah.
want to point that out. Really, really,
Well, I think it's an opportunity for people to see.
the
It's
newest
basically
stars,
it's basically a showcase for the number one draft picks of each team.
pretty
Right?
much.
I mean,
But it's a
that's
little unnecessary.
well. I mean, people now they get to see Cooper Flag in an NBA uniform. He's no longer on the college level, and
The
all
but,
these
but
other guys.
the
The
thing
the
is,
number one
what if an
pick.
injury happens? I'm the what if guy. What if an injury happens? What if they perform really well now but not later?
Well, that's always the risk. It's just like the
It's a
World
risk,
Baseball
though.
Classic. I mean, we saw it happen to Edwin Diaz. Yes, you always run that risk. But these guys are going to be playing basketball anyway.
That is
24
true.
hours a day, 12 months a year, they're going to be playing basketball. So you always run that risk. But I think it's a good opportunity for these guys to get some experience on an NBA level, and some are gonna
Now, I'm
some are
not
gonna
too
shine.
familiar with the
Some
summer
won't.
league. How long is this lasting? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know the structure. The
I don't know how the
um,
structures, but when does it end? That's my question.
well, I guess it
I'm gonna have to
ends.
Google that real quick.
Yeah, probably in August or something. Or when does training camp start? I guess right.
It's in Las Vegas. That's what they said. It runs from July 10th to the 20th.
Oh, it's a
That's
short
not that bad.
season.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what? We're only 2 days in. Only 9 more to go.
Yeah, but this is like I said, it's a showcase for the number one picks to
Yeah.
people to know who these guys are, and those who didn't know Cooper Flag will know him now, and we'll see what kind of um, when he faces competition. Look at Duke, it's the highest competition on a collegiate level, so he should make that adjustment and become one of those players. But there's always going to be, is the Harper, is the Bailey, is the uh,
Right.
who's the guy the Sixers took?
Uh,
Inchcombe or
yeah.
EJ,
Well, you got
EJ
Harper. You got all those guys. The bottom line
Edgecombe,
is
Edgecombe.
there's a ton of guys out there.
Yeah.
They're going to try to do their best at basketball, and this is a
Yep.
good opportunity, as you mentioned, for them.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can't get Eli. You and I have talked about it. Sports now, it's a 12-month season. If the season's not
Except
underway,
for football.
we're talking about it. No, but we're still talking about trades and
Well, yes,
signs
I'm
and
you're in that
football.
perspective, I'm saying, but in terms of playing, though,
Yeah.
yeah, I think what is there like one sport that really we don't really talk about? I would say horse racing. Yeah, I think once those three major the triple crowns over, you don't talk about horse racing.
Well, I will certainly give our picks for the Travers, which I consider the fourth
Well,
leg of the
of the
Triple
triple
Crown.
crown,
But
but
yeah,
that's a different story. But
and those
uh,
are the horses that ran in the Triple Crown. So it's not
right,
like a B League game. This is
it's the
quality
big stuff.
quality racing.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some other news from the NBA: Devin Booker signed a 2-year, $145 million deal. Wizards trade Kelly Olynyk to the Spurs for Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley and some draft picks. Pretty big one there. I don't even,
I
And
don't
Magic
know.
Paulo Benicero agrees to a 5-year, $287 million
Yeah.
deal. Again, where is this money coming from?
And it just seems like yesterday that Banchero is at Duke. He comes out early. Now he's 3 years in
Yeah,
the league and he gets a max contract. So I mean, very similar to the Cooper Flag scenario. So they're paying these kids. Holmgren hasn't been in the league that long, um,
right.
right? But Booker, you knew he was going to get paid. He's the crown jewel of Phoenix. Where are they going to be next year? Now that Durant is gone, which I think everyone's delighted. Nobody really cares about him anymore. Um, but we're going to see. They're going to pay these guys, and I don't know what the Suns have more than Booker, but he's getting paid. They're all getting paid.
Yes, they are.
And Eli, you just brought up like five names that were traded, and these were considered big
Big
trades in the
names.
NBA. I don't even know who they are. I haven't heard
I know
any.
Devin Booker.
No, I know him, but you said,
I think I heard
uh,
of Blake Wesley.
yeah, but you mentioned like five names that I never heard of.
I heard Devin Booker.
No,
They could
I'm
be rising
saying,
stars.
yeah. But
Let's
anyway,
talk some shop in the WNBA real quick. We'll give a quick little update there.
okay,
Right now, Minnesota is still the king of the world in the WNBA. They stand at 18-3 as their record. Phoenix right behind at 14-6, and the Liberty at 13-6. We are near the All Star break. The All Star is happening next week. We'll have some updates about that on next week's show. You have games all weekend, mostly on national television, and today you got two big games on Ion starting at 7:30 p.m.
yeah.
So check out the WNBA.
Okay. If you got nothing to do and you don't have any painting to do or anything like that, you can watch the WNBA All
Hey,
Star game. I
well, I
guess.
mean, the All Star game's next week, but you got some games this weekend. Atlanta, New York on Sunday. That's a good game. It's on My Nine locally, so check that out.
Yeah, I think the soccer tournament will kind of.
Well, that will take over. I forgot that at
Yeah.
the same time, but yeah,
All right.
if there was an issue with the weather, there you go.
Well, that's the true test for the WNBA. There's no question. people are watching it. But when there is other events, it does take a back seat, and that's just the way
Well,
it is.
that is true, but you
Yeah,
gotta keep that in mind, though. When those events don't happen, though, they're at its prime, especially when it
understood.
comes to the final. When Caitlin Clark is at her best performance or making her return debut, it is 100% its prime. Obviously, it's just a normal weekend. But
Yeah,
next week, there's no Wimbledon. There's not much soccer because the Euro soccer tournament for the women's happens in the morning. So you will have more a front row seat, as you will, for this WNBA All Star game.
okay, okay,
So yeah. Well,
good.
I think it's time for some random points.
I think so too.
All
Actually,
right. And that is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
you bet.
Uh, should I start it off?
Please do.
All right. Well, some sad news. Bill Spalding, the voice of the Devils on MSG, has been let go, and he's been replaced by Don LaGreca, who is a radio host on ESPN Radio. I'm kind of sad because Bill Spalding was great for the past 3 years, and now you got
Hmm.
Don LaGreca coming in from ESPN Radio. So some sad
Well,
news there, but
I don't listen to LaGreca's talk show, but he's a hockey guy. He does know his stuff, and he's
yeah,
he's a pretty decent announcer. But yeah, I saw that in the news too. Yeah.
yeah. So some sad news there. In the NHL, Sharks trade Henry Thurn to the Maple Leafs for Ryan Reeves, a big name in the NHL
Ryan Reeves has been on pretty much all but three teams in the NHL over
at
his
this point.
career. So,
The Bears re-signed GM Ryan Rolls through 2029. That was announced this week. Uh, Jeez, what the
I thought you
2029?
got to prove yourself first before you get that kind of a long-term commitment.
I know. Big East Basketball announces that select games starting this year will be available on ESPN Plus. Includes a minimum of 75 women's basketball games and 25 non-conference men's games, which will be available on ESPN Plus. Unfortunately, that means more and more women's sports, as we know, are heading to these streaming platforms. We were trying to gain it,
Mhm.
for national, but it looks like we're getting more and more towards streaming, and especially for the women's, though. Not the
Well,
best note on the
yeah, I think that's the way. That's just the way things are going. I don't think it's good for them because
right.
who's going to, no one's going to run out and get Apple TV to watch the WNBA. I'm sorry,
Which is
they're
the
not.
yeah, absolutely. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, the hosts of Live on the syndicated talk show, will be part of a new ESPN original documentary series called Running with the Wolves, which will premiere on July 29th, 2 episodes on ESPN, and another 2 episodes on July 31st. Now, for those of you wondering what the heck is this documentary even about and why are they on ESPN, stick to ABC and these other normal channels. Well, the reason why is they are co-owners of the Cambasso Football Club. And that is what this documentary is all about, and how they decided to be part of co-owners of this football club. It talks about the behind the scenes stuff and them at the games and stuff. So this
Okay.
is going to be happening in a 4-piece documentary series on ESPN starting July 29th. So the host of Live with Kelly and Mark will be talking some soccer on ESPN.
Well, I know you have a fondness for that show because you've been there and you were
I've
picked
been
out of the
there and I watch
studio.
it every morning when I can.
Yeah. Okay.
That is one for sure.
That's
And I think
that's
one
a
of the
tough one for me to watch. Actually.
I don't know, I think it's good to watch.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good.
What you
I
doing?
think one of the biggest news stories, though, of this week was you no longer have to take off your shoes for TSA airport security. Wasn't that the best news, I think, of the whole week? Who cares about every other news story in the sports? That was the
Yeah.
best news story of the whole week.
Yeah. That should speed things up a little bit, right?
It was that was great. That was a good news.
Yeah.
Excellent news story, I thought, my opinion. But that's it for random points for me.
Okay. So I do have a few here. So Manny Machado got his 2000th career hit.
Yeah.
Now you look at that and you go, okay, is he going to get to 3,000? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's only the active guys with 2,000 hits are Freddie Freeman. Who else did I say? Freddie Freeman. Ooh,
Got to look at those.
Paul Goldschmidt
Paul Gosh.
and Lawrence McCutcheon, Andrew McCutcheon. So Freeman has a legitimate shot at 3,000. I think the other guys just getting there. I mean, Machado's been in the league for probably 12 now, 13 years possibly. So that's a tough milestone. We talked last week about the 3,000 strikeout club, which is a very tough club to get into now, especially the way. So, hey, congratulations to this guy. But they signed him to that mega deal in Tatis to win a world championship.
Yeah.
They haven't even come close. So, you know, that's the comparison that we talk about with the NBA. You want to pay three guys $70 million a year, you better win a championship. You better,
100%. This is
right?
big. Absolutely.
But yeah, so he's in the 2000 hit club. Um, Interesting thing, and Eli, I have one of the pictures that'll show, but getting back to soccer, the Cosmos,
I
they
just
brought,
wrote that down because I
yeah,
didn't think you would write that when you put up that picture. I just wrote it down on my notes. Want to
well,
show the proof.
I don't need proof. You're a professional here,
Yeah.
But it's
I
interesting because
saw
I
that
told
though.
I told you before, and I told our audience that when I used to see the Cosmos play back in the late '70s with Pele and
Yeah.
all those guys, and you want to be surprised. Every single game in Giant Stadium that the Cosmos played
Was
was
sold out.
sold out,
I mean,
and
because
that's
yeah,
reflected. And we haven't had that, so they're coming back. They're not in the, you
the
know,
big stadiums.
yeah, they're not in
But
Major League MLS kind of thing, but
hey,
um,
Hinchcliffe is a very nice stadium. I heard, and the updates that they did for the Jackals as well.
I'm telling you. So we actually have a picture I took of that stadium. And
Yeah.
why is that relevant? Because when I was in high school, I played in that stadium and it was old. Remember, Hinchcliffe Stadium is where the Negro Leagues used to play
Right.
with Josh Gibson and Larry Doby, and so it's
The
very
early founding.
historic. But trust me, when I played there many years ago, it wasn't so nice. But now it's beautiful. They redid it. The state put tons of money into it, and
And
you
I'm
know,
glad.
it is a beautiful place right now.
However, I do
And
gotta admit though, I do kind of miss the Jackals home in Montclair, because the Jackals had a nice museum set up. If you remember, outside the stadium on
was that
the
the Yogi Berra
the
Museum?
Yogi Berra, yes.
Yeah, that was a
The
great
Yogi,
museum, by the
yes,
way.
it was a great museum. Yes, it was right on
That's
the
still
side.
open, I think. I
I
think
think the
that's
museum's
still
still open, yeah.
open.
But still, it's just it doesn't feel right that there's no baseball there now, and then it's just Montclair campus around it. I don't know.
Yeah. And listen, Patterson, still needs a lot of work, but that's going to be, and it's
That's
right
an
by the
update though. That's a
right, and,
start
and it's right by the Patterson Great Falls, so it's a great area
of
around
tourist
the stadium.
tourist
So
area now. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I wanted to point out we year after year we see guys in high school baseball, and I know Frankie is one of our loyal listeners, of course, um, former Don Bosco player, but Sal Garcia from Del Barton, where Anthony Volpe went, has been the New Jersey Player of the Year. So congratulations to that young man.
Yeah.
Um, the question becomes, are you going to sign with a major league team or are you going to go to college? And the trend has been these kids go to college,
I'm shocked
and
about that too. That's
yeah,
I didn't expect that.
but guys like Paul Skeens, yes, maybe now they don't have to stay 4 years like they used to if you went back to school. But yeah, that's a big decision these kids have to make. Do you take the
Yeah.
money now and run the risk of, you know, injury, before you sign a major league contract, or do you play in the college level? And like we said, the college baseball is very, very big. And these guys are, these are great players in college baseball. So those are the decisions that'll have to be made. We'll see what this young man decides to do. Because
Yeah.
he'll get a major league offer from somebody, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is a big for sure.
Um, Eli, I don't know how to break this to you, but Eli Manning will not continue his pursuit of becoming a part owner of the New York Football Giants. He said it's a
Yeah.
little too rich for his blood. So the Giants are valued at like they're the fourth most valuable franchise, I guess on paper, or maybe that's just an accountant's perspective, but they're like $7.8 billion dollars.
There's something up fishy about that then.
Well,
I hate to put that word into play, but I could say the word fishy because Eli
well,
Manning is forever a giant. He has been with the team forever, continues to work with the team and stuff. You would think he'd take some type of part ownership, but I think there's something he doesn't like and doesn't want to go and say, let me secure the deal.
No, I think what's really happening is when we talk about a franchise being valued at $7.8 billion, even 1% is a lot of money. And, so I don't think there's anything fishy there, but this is a business. It's the
Yeah,
business aspect, right? Like if Jeff Bezos wants to come in and offer the Giants $10 billion, he'll probably sell it, right?
they'll probably sell it, right? I know.
So
I see something fishy. But just I say the word fishy because he's been with the Giants for so long, and for him to not to make a deal, like if you gotta ignore the money aspect
well,
because we know he's got money.
let
It's
me give an
just
example, right? A former player, Hall of Famer like Magic Johnson.
right.
Magic Johnson bought in, became part owner. He's part owner of, a couple other franchises because he had that kind of money. Eli Manning is a millionaire, but he's not a billionaire. So that's where, business comes into play. And talking about valuations of these teams, the most valuable, quote unquote, valued franchises: the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Rams, and the New England Patriots. So, they're all ahead of the Giants. So we're talking $10 billion for the Cowboys if you wanted to buy that team. So, this is for the mega rich. And, this is a tough game.
I
It's
mean,
like,
but
yeah,
that's what sports has become now. And if you
right.
look, and it all starts by paying one guy, and we look at the prime example, the NBA, $287 million. Just a small example of what the standard is now.
Yeah, I know. I understand it, but if you want to become part owner of the Giants, this you got to put on your big boy pants because it costs a lot of money. And just because you were the quarterback of the Giants doesn't mean you get a free pass. It's still
Yeah,
dollars and cents. We know that,
that's
right?
true.
We know that. There was an interesting video. I don't know if you saw it. Eli, this former NHL enforcer, if you will, Nick Taransky. There's a
Okay.
video on the golf course, and the group in front of them were playing very slow, and it escalates like golfers are hotheads at sometimes. I can vouch for that. And it escalated into a fight on the tee box, and he threw the guy in the water hole, and you got to see this video.
You're gonna have
I'm
to
not
Google after
promoting
the show.
anybody. I'd rather people watch sports with Mono and Mono than that little
Yeah,
video.
but I mean, if you want a good comedy laugh, though, I
It's
mean,
kind of, yeah, it's
I think you got
almost
to check
bad
this
that
out.
these two drunk guys were taking on this crazy NHL fighter, and it's kind of
Wow.
funny to watch, actually.
Put it on funny videos on Sunday.
Yeah. Um, and lastly, we talked about some of the players up and coming in Major League Baseball. We talked about a little, but here's an interesting fact. This guy on the Cubs, Pete Crow Armstrong,
Yep.
um, became only the third player in Major League history to have 25 home runs and 25 stolen bases at the All-Star break. And
Interesting.
the other two guys was Bobby Bonds, not Barry Bonds, his father, Bobby Bonds, and also the other one? Oh, Eric Davis, great Hall of Famer from the Cincinnati Reds, and that's quite an accomplishment when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
He's one of those new stars, and that's why the Cubs are playing really good, and they should be considered, a certain formidable team in the National League going forward. It
Oh
could be
yes.
up to the grab. But congratulations to him. So wow, we got a lot of random
Random
points.
points done, and now we move
Yeah.
on to the entertainment and photo segment that is sponsored by Vital Selection. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yeah. So we call it movie recommendation, but we go back
We
and
call it
forth, right?
entertainment. That's what I
Yeah.
call it now. The entertainment and
Entertainment, whether
photo.
it be a book
Yeah,
or a movie or a TV
yeah.
show.
It's
In this
entertainment.
case, and this is very particular because I had a text message recommendation from one of our loyal listeners, Andrew Carroll. And this is very dear to me because it's a movie, not a movie, like a season on, I think it's
Show.
Paramount Plus, called The Offer. And it's about the
Okay.
making of The Godfather, which, as you know, and my listeners know,
One of the
Godfather 1
best.
and Godfather 2 are the best two movies ever made. So this is right. This is all behind the scenes and the casting. And Andrew, your recommendation, you knocked it out of the park because I'm already 8, 9 episodes in, and I wish
How many
there was
seasons?
another season, but there's only one, I think.
Yeah.
At least there's only one in production, but it's really interesting to show the characters and the
Interesting.
casting and
Wow.
all this, and Francis
I gotta
Ford
check it out.
Coppola. It's really interesting.
Yeah, well, mine's not going to be a home run in the park like that. You have the ESPYS this Wednesday, 8 o'clock on ABC Sports
Mm,
Biggest Night, I guess you will, and say,
yeah,
my other recommendation is Good Morning America. It's a good show every morning. It wakes you up. If I don't know what your
mm,
news is, but that's a show
yeah.
I
You're either
listen to.
right. You're either a Good
Good Morning
Morning
America or
America
Today.
or a Today Show, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no CBS. I mean,
Yeah.
CBS has it, but there's no. It's Good
No,
Morning
nobody
America or
watches.
Today.
Nobody watches that. Nobody
Yeah,
watches.
yeah.
Good
Well,
stuff.
let's take a look at some photos.
Okay, Eli. So,
We'll start off with Hinchcliffe.
and there's that stadium. Like I said, it
Yeah,
certainly didn't look like that when I played in it.
no,
That's a beautiful, beautiful facility. And um, like I said, it's got a great storied history with the Negro Leagues playing there. And, that I had an opportunity to play in there, and it was a tough, tough environment to play in. Let me just leave it at that.
I can
So,
only imagine.
yeah. And here it is. These are my three grandchildren, and it's summertime, and all they do is they're water bugs. They just sit in the water, and you can't get them out all day long.
Well,
So
I guess you could clearly say that they are living their best life.
you bet, and you bet, and they look awesome, and they're very close with one another, which makes me happy. And goes shout out to my daughter and my son-in-law because they are tough. And talking about cute, right? If you zoom in on this picture, that's my daughter Danielle's dog, Mace, who paid a little visit to us. And the guy, he's amazing. But he got pooped out and he's taking a nap in the
Ooh.
kitchen. So
Uh, what's the dog's name?
it's Mace. And
Mace. Okay.
Mace, and he's a Sharpeagle, which is a part Sharpei and part Beagle, and cute as a button. So
Wow. Very nice.
got that. Now, Eli, I think we have a QR code, and I wanted
Yes,
to
I'll
bring
bring
this,
up. Yep, go ahead.
so we can put this back under the random points, but I just wanted to mention because we had posted, and Eli posted the QR code up there, and that's the
This is a
site,
new one, by the way.
right? That's for the Sports Association of Oakland, and we set it up, and my sister set it up with my little brother's college buddies, and for donations toward the program where Steve and I played growing up, and the turnout has been outstanding. So the president of the Sports Association allowed us to extend it for, I think it goes till
July 21st.
July 21st. So you still have an
Yes.
opportunity to donate that, and then
Yes.
how we're going to allocate it. Maybe that depends. And I think Eli came up with a good idea. We were part of the baseball program and part of
Yeah.
the football
You
program,
got to
so maybe
split
we
it.
split it down the middle, or
Yeah.
but it's up to you. You're the ones that make the donation.
Right.
We're very, very grateful. My sister is extremely happy. I won't reveal the dollar amount, but it really does give a good reflection of Stephen's
Right.
friends and his circles and kids that we played with growing up.
And
So
as a
thank you
reminder,
very
if
much.
you scan that QR code, it goes right to the Facebook page where you can learn more about that.
Yep.
And then from
Yep.
there, you can click on the link to learn about how you can donate. And if you
Mhm.
need the link in person, or if you need it personally, send us a DM on Instagram, X, Facebook, or send us an email at sportsmonomano@gmail.com, or leave us
Yep.
a comment on YouTube, and we will get that link right to you so you don't, so you can most certainly find your way to donate and to represent in memory of Stephen Monahan.
That's great. I thank you for that, Eli, and thank everybody that made donations. And it just like I said, it touches your heart when people reach out and do something that doesn't benefit them at all, but it may benefit some young kid who has an
Right.
opportunity to enjoy the fruits of our sports childhood growing up. And thank you
100%.
again. Right.
And with that, we head into notable passings. We got a couple for this week.
Yep. Go ahead, Eli.
All right, we'll start off with this. James Carter Hatchart, who voiced many characters for Pokemon anime shows, has died at the age of 71.
Mm.
Tim Rooney, former scout up for the Giants, Steelers, and Lions, has passed away at the age of 84.
And let's touch base real quick. I'm assuming Tim Rooney is probably the brother of Art Rooney the third, who's the current owner,
Yes, Art Rooney
right?
Sr.
So the Giants and the Steelers have a great history with the Rooneys and the Maras. So
Right.
this is a big loss for both franchises. Like I said, he even worked for both franchises at one point. So yeah, that's a notable loss for
Yeah.
the world of football and that Rooney family.
Alvin checks in, by the way. He says, good evening, and good evening, Alvin.
Hey, Alvin. Oh, that's my boy. He's our NBA expert. He goes, you guys got to talk about the NBA. Well, we talked about the NBA, Alvin, and thank you for listening.
Yes.
You're a dear friend and a loyal listener. Thank you.
And he says, good evening, and just tuning in. And the last one I have is
Oh,
Bobby.
then he missed our NBA portion. He's got to start from the beginning then.
Start from the beginning. Come back to us. But that's all right. Bobby
You're
Jenks,
late.
former White Sox pitcher, has died at the age of 44 in Portugal on July 4th. He was born in 1981.
Yeah, he's 44 years old, and he did win the World Series with the Chicago White Sox. He had two great seasons where he was one of the best closers in baseball, and yeah, that's pretty young, 44. So I think the White Sox, unfortunately, they not really a very good
uh,
baseball team, but they're going to wear a patch in his honor, so
yeah,
that's good recognition.
they got the
Yeah.
Pope Leo look now.
Yeah.
JR also checks. He says, I thought you guys do the shows on Saturdays. We do the shows on Saturdays, but today we did a special for Friday night. We're doing
Yes.
it for tonight. It doesn't
Due to
usually always
scheduling
happen due to scheduling conflicts, but we'll be back to normal 10 o'clock next week, just to let you know.
Very well. Who did we miss?
Who did you miss? I don't know.
Okay, I got a couple. Well, I got a couple, and one was I think I should have brought it up last week, and it's not a sports person, but like I said, it's somebody that I think tried to make a difference in this world, and she was a congressman from Long Island. Carolyn Maloney passed away, and it was notable because the only reason she ended up going into Congress is because her husband and son were shot in that subway incident back 20,
Right.
30 years ago, and
And then she
she
got
was
involved with the lawsuits, and yep, I know. Mm-hmm.
right, but she was also one of the strongest, most ardent, supporters of gun reform and so forth. But it came from a person that suffered a personal loss at the hands of an unregistered gun, and it's just
That's
a
how it ends.
bad thing. So wanted to make sure we came back and touched her, and also Lyndon Byers, and he was a Boston Bruin player from I'm going to say 1983 to 1992, and he was an enforcer, but very, very well liked and popular player for the Bruins for all those years. And
Right.
I told you he actually had a sports podcast in Boston, and he was very popular. And again, he was very, not young; he's 61 years old, but yeah, I remember him playing, and he was a tough guy, and he fought all the heavyweights, so he never backed down from anybody.
Yeah.
Um, and Eli, before this one's very, you and I kind of talked about it, and it's just so heartbreaking. But it's not just it's notable, but the the devastation and the effects of this flooding in Texas. Our heart goes out to each and everybody that's been affected by this. And when you hear the stories of an entire camp of 8-year-old girls, and they're all missing, it's just
It's horrible.
sometimes you wonder, why is these things happen? And, there really is no answer to it. But I wanted to make sure that all those families knew, certainly Sports with Mono and Mono doesn't take
And
this
all of us,
lightly.
we are here and we know the pain, we know, and it's very
Oh,
sad to see, and so it's rough. And we
yeah.
send our thoughts and prayers as always.
It's just
That
going to
was
affect.
that was rough
Oh
how it happened, and
my
it's hard to
goodness.
even talk about.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the devastation and the heartbreak that these families are going to have to endure for the rest of their lives is just terrible. But we send all our best to those victims and their families.
Yes.
Um, okay, Eli. Boy,
Well, what
did
a
we
great
cover a
show.
lot.
We covered so much. It felt like so
Right?
many little segments, but there was so much detail. That's what made
Yeah.
it excellent. And we thank
Yep.
everybody for tuning in, for commenting, and watching us tonight on a Friday night special.
Yep.
And we'll be back next week, normal times, 10 o'clock on Saturday on YouTube here for Sports with
Yep.
Mono and Mono.
But that now, when we see this and we get a comment from JR, who an undisputed loyal listener, tunes in Friday Night Lights edition, and we appreciate that. Just like Frank
Absolutely.
Fasani and all the other guys. So, we'll get back to our usual Saturday. But you know what? Sometimes I like this Friday night thing. It's
I
kind of
kind of
good.
like it too. I mean, it's like it gives you like a better vibe and everything. I don't know. It's like,
Well, it gets us to the end of the week so we can talk about the week's events,
yeah.
and it also it gives us time to talk about the events coming up on Saturday. But
And
like I
also
said,
breaks
we're
away from like the Wheel of Fortune, the Jeopardy that the usual supposed to be watched
right,
at night.
right.
And you take a little time to watch
Hey, don't
something
think I
different.
didn't make a personal sacrifice. I missed Jeopardy tonight because that's on
I
at
know.
7 o'clock.
Hey, I actually got the Jeopardy right yesterday, the final Jeopardy,
Did
about
you
Little
now?
Nas X. So that was happy about that. I said Old Town Road, and Old Town Road was by Little Nas X. That was the
I
Jeopardy
did.
for yesterday. I don't know if you got it right, but I did. So I was happy
I
about that.
did. I most certainly did not get it right. So
Yes,
yes,
but I was happy. At least I got
uh,
something right, and I know that these questions are easy now.
funny. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff,
Well,
Eli. All right, everybody. So thanks again for joining us tonight. And we'll see you back here next Saturday at our usual time, 10 o'clock. And
yep,
like I said, please send us emails or comments on anything we talked about to sportswithmono@gmail.com, or send us, just comment online. But, if everybody of our loyal listeners gets a friend to subscribe, we're going places. So,
absolutely.
right. Eli, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Okay, bye.
Bye.